Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Roberto Bizzotto from the National Research Council, CNR, Institute of Neuroscience. It's a pleasure for me to introduce this session entitled Companies Meet GNB. I think it's a great opportunity to strengthen the links between companies and students, PhD students, and all the people here working in the bioengineering field. We heard many times, especially yesterday, that we really need to implement bioengineering solutions to bring them to hospitals, to people, to have something working that can effectively improve health and life. And we have projects going into this direction. But I think that companies are still one of the main actors with this goal, implementing solutions for people. I read this morning that from a Confindustria report that in 2019 we have working in Italy in the biomedical devices field more than 4,000 companies with almost 100,000 people employed, and almost 1 billion euros used for research and development, and therefore innovation. So companies really have a great commitment in this direction. And we have here three representatives from Sanofi, Exemplar, and Inventis, who are going to present what they do, what their companies do, and what bioengineers can do in their companies. It's now the turn of Andrea Tiso from Inventis.
Hi, everybody. I'm Andrea Tiso. I'm the R&D manager of Inventis. Today I will just give you a brief overview of the product of Inventis, but I'd like to focus on the role of a bioengineer in a company like Inventis, which is can be still considered as a small company, but which is growing very fast, and I think it's a good view of the world out there. Sorry. Okay. Inventis have been founded in the 2005, so it's 18 years old. I joined the company 14 years ago, and when I joined the company, we were 7. Now we are more than 100 with branches in France and US. I think it's really interesting to see how the company has grown over the year, and also how the role of a bioengineer has changed during this year in the company. Yeah, just a brief overview of the devices that we develop and manufacture. So we are our business is audiology and balance assessment. So our main devices are audiometers, middle ear analyzer, hearing aid fitting solution, and balance solution. These are some of the audiometers that we developed. They are both standalone devices, that means can work without any computer connected, but they are also PC-based devices, that means they need a computer to work. Tympanometers are another one of the second, I would say, the second device as number. And it's aimed at the analysis of the tympanic membrane functionality. We have fitting solution, which are devices aimed at the fine-tuning of the hearing aid on the specific patient. We have also balance equipment. This is a quite new branch for us, because we have just acquired a French company. So these are some of the devices used to assess the vestibular system. And finally, the software, which is, we define ourselves as a software-centric company, since all our devices can be connected to Maestro, which is our main software, and where all patient data and exam can be stored. So we push a lot on this product, and it's probably our main added value. We have also other software as a satellite, which is a teleaudiology solution that have been developed during the pandemic, and Symphonia, which is a simulator for sound environment used to assess the hearing aid functionality in noisy environment. So, as I said before, I'd like to spend a few words on the role of a bioengineer in a company of our size, which is not that small, but even not that big, because we are 100. So we have bioengineer in all the departments, but the three main ones are research and development, quality and regulatory, and customer care. This is the R&D. It's actually my department. That's my team. I really love working with them. R&D is actually the department that counts most of my engineers. 14 out of 23 are actually bioengineers. We follow, the bioengineer follow in the R&D mainly these three tasks: product design, product maintenance, and software development. Product design is probably the characteristic activity for a bioengineer in a company like us. Actually, its role is to translate stakeholder needs into development specification. That's probably the core activity of a bioengineer. Then we have, of course, technical analysis and system design, product verification and validation, and engineering and industrialization activities. Once a product has been commercialized, a number of activities are asked, like product fix and upgrade, product-related process improvement, regulatory activities, and assistant to other departments. And this is the second, I would say it's the second main task of a bioengineer in R&D. Then we have also a number of bioengineers in the software development team. Probably it's not common, but I started actually as a software development in Inventis, and we have now half of the software development team composed by bioengineer. In that case, their job goes from the software design, so defining the architecture, for example, of the software, the development, the coding, and testing. These are the main activities of an engineer, both for desktop application as Maestro and the embedded firmware. Another department that counts a number of bioengineer is quality and regulatory. The two main tasks, I would say, are checking that all business activities are carried out according to procedures, methods, and instructions that respond to stringent regulatory requirements. This is a tough, it's a really tough activity for a bioengineer, because you need to know a lot of regulatory, a lot of norms, and trying to adapt that request to a company of our size. It's not trivial. So the other one is checking that the medical devices are designed and manufactured in accordance with regulation imposed by the market of interest. Since we sell products all over the world, and each country have its request, another really big job is finding out which are the requests of each single country. The last department that have a number of bioengineer is the customer care. In particular, the role, the typical role of a bioengineer in customer care is the product specialist, which is actually the role, a technical role, and provide the customer with all required information before and after sales. They train customer, but also colleagues of other departments on the product. They keep track of user feedbacks and provide them to other departments. For us, they are some inputs for the R&D for sure. And they support sales department for installation, tender, and congresses. So why we do keep looking for a bioengineer in a company like Inventis? First of all, because we have a strong multidisciplinary background that makes it easy to take a new project and being effective. The ability to cover multiple functions, and this is a really important aspect in a company of our size because make it really flexible. We have some example of bioengineer moving from a department to another, and this is something that can be done only by a bioengineer, I would say. There is a predisposition to communicate effectively with technical, clinical, and commercial personnel, and no matter what the department, but that's a really important aspect because in R&D it's important to being able to speak with clinical as well as the development team, and that's something that the bioengineer can do really well. And finally, because there is a really interest in the biomedical context, and that's a really important added value. It's not common to find a bioengineer out of the box for us. These are not mandatory, actually, because they are really specific, but it could help finding for us to find the right people. The basic knowledge of regulatory requirement. When I started, I have no idea of what a medical company is asked for from a regulatory point of view. So I had to study it, and it's good. It's always good studying, but starting with a background could help. Developing a new device requires some skill as requirement and system engineering. Even this kind of skill can be learned during years, but it's another thing that is nice to know when you start, probably because it's the daily work in a company like ours. Project management, these are also some skills that probably could help at the beginning, but even after, because the technical manager, which is the core of the product, especially the product design team, also have to lead the team even outside of the company. So knowing at minimum, having a minimum toolbox of project management can help. And the last one, but it's too specific, it's the clinical knowledge of the clinical context. We do work in audiology, and it's not that fine to know to find someone that already have a background on this kind of topic because it's kind of specific. So yeah, I think it's I've done. Of course, if you want, if you're interested, joining our team, you are welcome. Just this is the email, because we are always looking for new talent, and so thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Andrea. Great. This is time for Dr. Britta Wagenhuber. The stage is yours.
Thank you very much for the introduction and for the invitation. So I'm quite happy to introduce today what we do at Sanofi, a pharma company, in terms of biomedical engineering and which role is playing digital in our day-to-day business. So I'm working at Sanofi Research and Development, and there I'm heading the translational disease modeling group responsible for immunology and inflammation. At Sanofi, it's our determination to chase the miracles of science to improve patients' lives. That means we do discover and develop medicine, means drugs, means vaccines, biologics, as well as genomic medicine in order to treat diseases with an unmet medical need. It's a quite big company, maybe in difference to what you've seen before. So it's about 100,000 employees worldwide, with about 15,000 people working in research and development across the whole world. And in contrast to what you have seen before, biomedical engineering is definitely not the main representation in research and development. It's very dominated by medical doctors, by pharmacologists and chemists, but digital plays a more and more important role to develop new medicine for people. So, as said, in order to reach that goal, we need quite thoroughly investigations first of the diseases we want to treat. So we need a very good understanding of the pathophysiology. And next, of course, we need to identify a target that is able to treat a certain disease. Once that target is identified, we need to find the right molecule to target that target in the organ. And then we use a toolbox of different approaches in order to investigate biomarkers, in order to investigate response markers, in order to investigate precision medicine approaches to treat the patients at the end of the day, hopefully as soon as possible. So we investigate the right disease, the right molecule, and precision medicine approaches. And to reach that goal, on the one hand, AI plays an increasingly important role to do that, and also modeling and simulation is heavily applied nowadays in order to reach these goals. So we apply AI and modeling and simulation throughout the whole value chain in developing a new drug. So it starts basically, as explained before, with the target discovery, where we investigate via single-cell disease maps the disease in its detail and identify the right target in the organ in order to treat the disease. Once that is done, the drug discovery process is starting, and you have to imagine that only in the small molecule world you already have more opportunities or more possibilities for a molecule to treat the target then you have stars in the complete universe. And on the whole world, it's not enough material available to produce all these possibilities in terms of molecules in order to investigate what is the best molecule to reach the target. And there, one can imagine that AI is a good methodology in order to investigate that large space more systematically. So here in the past, the chemist produced a certain molecule, it was designed, it was made, it was tested, and then decided is a good option or not. Now we basically do design a lot of opportunities in terms of molecules in the computer, do simulations of all these experiments, and therefore have a much faster option to investigate that large molecule space more thoroughly. Once we identified a candidate, a molecule, a drug candidate, then we need to investigate if that is able to treat the disease, so is it efficacious, and if is it safe as well. And also here, modeling and simulation plays an important role. So I will show to you in a bit how we develop so-called virtual patients in order to do virtual clinical trials in these virtual patients, to do clinical translation, to investigate digital biomarkers, patient stratification and disease endotyping, and so on. So in the translational disease modeling department, which we call the home of virtual patients, we do drive in silico drug development at Sanofi. So what does it mean? You see in terms of the size, I said before 15,000 people in R&D. Here we are 20 scientists with a background in biomedical engineering, mathematics or pharmacometrics. And we have here 3 teams dedicated to our key strategic therapeutic areas. So my team is responsible for immunology and inflammation, based in Frankfurt in Germany. We have 1 additional team working on rare diseases, rare blood disorders, as well as neurological indications. And we have a 3rd team working on oncology and immuno-oncology. We are located in 4 sites, so 2 in the US, in Bridgewater and in Cambridge. We are in France, obviously, in Paris, as well as in Germany, in Frankfurt. We do support research projects, so drug discovery, as well as development, clinical development, supporting clinical trials by means of so-called quantitative systems pharmacology modeling or drug disease modeling. And for us, it's really important to have close collaborations with our internal colleagues. So we need to closely collaborate with medical doctors, toxicologists, pharmacologists, and so on. And we need to speak the same language as they do. But also we have a lot of external collaborations with partners in academic as well as in industry. So a bit more in detail what we are doing. So in translational disease modeling, we work with a lot of multimodal data that come from our internal research labs, that come from clinical trials and also from literature, to build them into computational models that cover the pathophysiology of a disease as well as the pharmacology of the treatments. And then we build so-called digital twins of real patients or so-called virtual patients in the computer. These allow us then to perform in silico clinical trials to explore the clinical benefit as well as risk of a new drug candidate in order to support our clinical development. So the questions we are addressing: moving the right asset into the clinic, so-called clinical translation before the first in human studies. We move the right asset into the next clinical phase, which have the highest probability of success. Very recently, we are quite proud that we were able to replace a clinical trial in a pediatric population in vulnerable patients, because it was a rare disease and there are only very few real patients are available. We also address questions in clinical trial design optimization. So what is the right dose? What is a good biomarker to measure? And what is the right patient to treat? And also, last but not least, we are working and supporting regulatory decisions at the FDA or EMA, and so on. So more specifically, disease modeling as well as virtual patients do provide insights as well as understanding in the mechanism of action of our drug candidates. We do connect biomarkers to clinical endpoints and predict them even before they are measured in the clinical trial. Moreover, these methodologies provide a great understanding of the disease and the drug mode of action, and we are allowed to quantify parameters that are not easily accessible in a real clinical trial by means of the computational models. Thereby, we predict clinical efficacy to inform clinical translation, optimal clinical trials, as well as, in some cases, even replacing clinical trials. Finally, I brought an example project to you to make it a bit more concrete. In the past, we have a lot collaborated with the University of Padua, with Chiara Dallaman, with Roberto Vicentin, with Michele Schiavon. And this is one project we worked on where we investigated the effects of a drug candidate with a dual mode of action, a so-called GLP-1 glucagon receptor agonist, on postprandial glucose metabolism. So we had a clinical trial in which this dual agonist showed good efficacy on glucose metabolism. However, this trial was not able to reveal what are the mechanisms behind. So why do we see a good effect on glucose control? So we together applied the minimal modeling approach. So we took the glucose and the insulin data and used the models in order to quantify the physiological mechanisms behind. So we quantified glucose absorption, insulin sensitivity, and beta cell responsivity in order to quantify why do we see these effects. So the results, we saw the effects of the dual agonist compared to placebo and an active control monotherapy on these physiological parameters. So we quantified that the dual agonist improves glycemic control by delaying glucose absorption, improved insulin sensitivity, and enhanced beta cell function. So by means of modeling and simulation, we were able to provide mechanistic insights into the mode of action of the drug. And with that example, I wish to thank you for your attention and hope for a very lively discussion.
Thank you. Great, so thanks to all of you for these very stimulating presentations. And now it's time for discussion. So any questions from the audience? So I will break the ice. So we have 3 examples here of very different companies. A pharma company, a smaller company, and maybe a middle-sized company. And this is a question that I always had in mind when I was thinking about what I wanted to do when I become adult. So what do you think is the main pro of working in this size of company for each of you, if you can think about one big advantage that you would like to present. So each of you. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yes, my company is quite small, 20 people more or less, and yeah, let's say that the advantage is that we can start soft and mean of no big hierarchy, and you can see many different aspects of interesting and very focused on what you like to do at the beginning.
Yeah, what I really like about my job is that every day is different from another one, and I meet a lot of interesting people in my job. So we work very interdisciplinary, which is on the one hand, of course, a challenge, but this is something I particularly like about my job in a big company.
Yeah, in a company of size of Inventis, I think that the most interesting thing is that you can see the entire life cycle of a new product from the initial development to the commercialization. So you are involved in many aspects. So you can see the big picture, and I think it's really interesting.
Enea Parimbelli from University of Pavia. So it's not really a question, but maybe it's a good pitch for the younger students that we have in the room. So how would you say that a profile of a person that is an early career researcher or someone owning a PhD fits with what your companies have to offer, and why you're after these kind of profiles? It's a provocative question, of course. I know there's many good reasons, but I think the younger people that embark into or are interested into embarking in a PhD in bioengineering do not always have such a clear view of what's ahead of them. So, thank you.
You want to ask to any of them specifically?
Yeah, any of them that
okay.
has a good answer to this. Thank you.
Yeah, maybe I can start and then I let the others add. So what we need is definitely a very broad background and interdisciplinary background. So bioengineering is quite interesting for us because bioengineers bring a good biological and medical understanding. This is very important, as well as, of course, the technology understanding that we need. And it's very key is communication in our job, because if the biologist, if the pharmacologist, if the medical doctor doesn't understand what you're talking about, then you're basically lost. And we very closely collaborate with the project teams, so what we do and what we deliver has an immediate impact on a project, and this is very rewarding in my point of view, because if you are lucky and you see once a drug you worked on really helping patients, that is very rewarding.
Yeah, and our company is more focused on the development rather than the research. So we do have 2 PhD, but the most common degree is master's degree, because it's, yeah, unfortunately research is not our focus, not yet, at least. So, but yeah, we do have 2 PhD, and they brought their experience, their knowledge, so they can contribute. But yeah, for sure, it's probably not the most interesting size of company, or at least the product that we deal with.
Thank you. Yeah, in our company, PhD could be a good value, because we are very involved on different methodologies, and we see that only at the end of a university career you start doing simulation, you start doing development software and mathematical, so taking the hand of a real problem, and so this is a good opportunity to get people that know how to do the research and to develop something that is only after the master degree or with PhD, most of them.
Paolo Magni from University of Pavia. A question for all the 3 speakers. How much the innovation is pushed by the business, and how much technician, engineer can not guide but influence, determine what is the innovation in your company?
Yeah, I can speak. So for us, we are, compared to the other disciplines in pharma, we are very young disciplines. So this more mechanistic disease modeling is now maybe done for 10 years or so. And we started basically with these large mechanistic disease models, simulating average patient behavior. And then once computing power allowed that for us, we moved from this average patient behavior now to digital twins or virtual patients. And currently we are investigating how we also can apply AI methods to improve our disease models and to combine these methodologies. So it's never standing still, so it's very dynamic. So this is definitely something where our bioengineering, mathematical, computer science skills are immediately involved in finding new solutions for these disease models.
In our case, I think that it's a trade-off between the business request and the innovation that we want to bring. We are a young company, actually, because all the other companies in our business are much older than us. So I believe that we found the right trade-off between the needs of complete our portfolio. In that case, it's business-driven, I will say, and the needs of finding interesting solution to bring innovation in the market. So, and that's it. this is something done by the engineer part, of course. And it's marketing, sales, but so I will say it's half and half. So the business, but also the needs, our will of bringing something new in this market. So which is our strength actually.
Yeah, our company helps the other company to innovate the product. So when the customer come and ask our help, is because they want introduce new methodology to address specific problems. So yeah, we see only the innovation part of the process development mainly.
My question is for the Sanofi representative. I'm afraid I missed the name, sorry. So I'm interested in knowing, in a context such as that of a big company like yours, to what extent your research and your findings are then made available to the entire scientific community, and how much of it instead is just kept like secret under patents, you know?
Specifically, you mean more the innovation in terms of the computational methods or in terms of data available?
Well, everything. So like data, the clinical trials results, the methodological parts. Like I understand that you surely must keep some of your work like under patents, because otherwise you cannot make profit out of it. But you know, just to have an idea.
Yes, I mean, of course, the drugs and chemical structures, whatever, are under patent and are thereby secured. In terms of the models, we also do publish some of the models we are developing. So we are also contributing to the scientific community with that regard. Also actively working on consortia like IMI consortia, where basically academics and different industry partners are sharing their knowledge. But of course, as you said, parts of it is confidential because it may be related to a new entity that is not yet secured by a patent. And until that's the case, of course, that's confidential information. So it's early in the process. There's a lot of confidential information once it's patented, and this is related definitely to the drug information. Then also we do publish and share information broadly.
Thank you.
So, I have a question about the regulatory issues, since they are becoming more and more important with the medical device regulation. Which do you think is the winning model? Is to have such skills inside the company or to rely on external services that have this consultation about regulatory issues as their core business?
Yeah, I believe, for what I can say, I believe it's depend on the size of the company, on the product, of the complexity, on the risk of the product. So, in our case, it's something that we can deal in company, but of course, if you are making life-saving devices, or you are such a big company, probably you have to rely also on external services, but it depends probably on the product that you manage and the size of the company. In our case, we are trying to do all in-house. We have a dedicated department. They are really doing a great job with the MDR. We had to spend many resources to be conformance to the request, but probably I believe that company like Sanofi can I don't know if you have internal or external, but probably in that case, activities are at another level. So probably, yeah, it depends on product and company size. For us, it's still possible to manage them internally, but probably at a certain level, of certain size, you cannot do anymore. That's my thought, at least.
Yeah, I wouldn't call one model the winning one. So at least in our case, it's always a combination of both. So of course we need internal activities, but external collaboration as well.
Okay, I think we need to stop the session. I thank all the presenters again, their companies, and I hope it was interesting for all of you. Thank you and a big applause.